Price gap in Toronto is getting out of control. And in my opinion, there's three potential outcomes that could happen here. Either condos eventually start going up in price. Not this year, I'm not even saying next year, but into the future. Or do single family homes, semi-detached and detached properties start coming down in price, get closer to the gap that we used to have? Or the third potential thing that could happen, condos go up and houses go up, or do both of them eventually fall? My name is Tom Storey. Welcome back to the channel. If you learn anything new here, make sure to like and get subscribed because we're doing a lot of cool videos upcoming on this channel. You can also book a call with me or my team in the first link in the description. Today's video is something I've been thinking about for a while, but didn't really know how to formulate it together. I run the numbers this morning, and I was actually at an industry event last night, and it got me thinking about what does the future look like here? We can talk till we're blue in the face about what should be done, what isn't being done, what we think is going to happen. And maybe this video is just to meet what I think is going to happen, but I want you to be interactive on this. I want you guys to get involved in the comments and tell me, let's be realistic about this. Let's look at what's going to happen here. How is this going to play out? What I did is I went back and I looked at February 2020. And during that period of time, the average condo price was over $700,000. In fact, it was higher then than it is today. So if you just looked at average condo to average semi-detached property or average detached property, there was a fairly big gap there. It was just under a $500,000 price gap to a semi-detached property. And then the difference between a condo and a detached property was about $750,000. And those numbers alone are massive differences. Now, it kind of makes sense because condos are a lot smaller. They're not freehold property. But as I started digging into this, and I've been following this very closely for a long time, it's just gotten worse. Condo prices in February of 2020 were higher than they are today. That's something a lot of sellers are currently learning as they're coming to the market with the amount of inventory that we currently have for sale. But let's talk about what's happening right now. So your average condo price is still just over $700,000. Semi-detached properties are up $100,000 from where they were previously in February 2020 with an average price of just over $1.3 million. And then detached properties, which pre-pandemic were sitting around $1.5 million, are now up to about 1.7. So the price gap between condo and semi-detached property went up an additional $100,000. But then between condo and detached, it almost went up an additional $250,000. So that gap that was 750 is teetering, depending on the month you look at the data, on $1 million difference. So to put that in perspective, the gap from the day before the pandemic until the day that you are watching this video grew 22% between condo and semi-detached and grew 28% between condo and detached. And that's why I think one of those three things is going to happen. Let's think, how does this play out? Does this gap just continue to get bigger? Is this just the way that it works now and this is just what happens? Are condos going to continue to go down in price that this gap actually continues to move upwards? Or are condos eventually going to get a little bit closer? Or is it just a point now in the market that what used to be the jump up from selling your condo to buying that semi-detached property is now selling your one-bedroom condo to buying a two-bedroom condo before you can get to that next property? Have we added another rung or step on that potential property ladder? I mentioned I was at an industry event last night, and it got me thinking about what's coming, what's actually being built. And there was economists speaking there. There was also people on the development side. Now, of course, they are very much pro housing and they don't like the taxes that they have to deal with. So let's keep that in mind. But they're basically saying density is basically the only way that housing is going to be built. If you look at what is actually coming, a lot of purpose-built rentals are being built right now because the numbers make sense because they removed rent control in Ontario after that date of November 15th, 2018. That's why they are building those, but they're thinking long-term and making those numbers make sense. And you're going to get more high-rise condos because that's all they're building. If you actually look at what is being built to potentially, and this is the thought, you build more, naturally prices will move downwards if there's more supply for people to buy. But it's just condos. We're just building more condos. We're not building more homes in the GTA. Now, of course, there's going to be projects here and there where they build 15, freehold properties that sell out in 10 seconds. So that will always happen, but it's not going to make a meaningful difference. So this is my opinion. And again, I want you to get involved in the conversation in the comments on this video. For condos, I think condos for the rest of this year could dip down. And then I think they trade sideways for most of next year. I don't think you see any growth at all. I do believe very firmly in 2 years, I think the condo market isn't just going to pick up. It's going to absolutely come back. Not right away on price, but activity is going to be there. Because if that gap continues to get there, and we all know they're not building anything right now, and of course, unemployment could change all the things I'm saying today if that gets really bad or there's a black swan event. But I think it's going to take realistically 2 years for the condos to rebound what I'm finding in my business, sellers want them to do. They're like, I'll only sell if I can get this number. Well, I think realistically, your minimum 1.5, probably 2 years down the road until you can get back to that number that you're looking for. We need first-time home buyers and investors to return to the condo market if you want to see any growth in that asset class. First-time home buyers, I can tell you, they are returning. Investors are slowly returning, but nowhere near the numbers that they previously were. And then you look at the single family home side of the market. So let's talk about that for a second. Is it realistic to say that that portion of the market could actually come down in price? So let's say condos don't go up, they stay the same or go down, but this other property type doesn't continue to go up. So for single family homes, typically it's less investor focused, right? That's probably why that asset class is more stable, at least here in the city of Toronto. That's the first thing. The second thing is that until the new rules come into effect on December 15th, for the most part, based on just the purchase price of single family homes in the city of Toronto, people had to put 20% down when they bought them, right? So unless you bought February 2022, you could have lost all equity in the property technically, but most people are in a position that they didn't buy with the minimum down payment, right? They have money in these properties, which to me just makes it a little bit more stable as an asset class if you got more skin in the game. I do think the new insured mortgage cap going from $1 million to 1.5 is just going to increase the prices of the homes that were in that $1 million to 1.2 range. You're just going to see more demand. That segment of the market didn't need more demand. Those were still selling, some with multiple offers. We had over 15 offers on a property that was a freehold house in today's market where we have condos sitting there just hoping to get showing. So it's not like cheapest real estate just automatically sells. It's the type of real estate that people want that is actually moving, which takes me to my final point in today's video. We're not building more homes. So I'd love to know what you think. What happens here? Does the gap just get bigger? Do both of them eventually go down in value, where the gap might still be there, but they're both going down in value? Do condos eventually pick up and make up for the gap that was lost since pre-pandemic until now and kind of get a little bit closer where the numbers kind of make more sense to where they used to? Or does the gap remain the same, but both property types continue to go up because we're just injecting the market with more demand while not actually looking at and not just building supply like 40-story condo buildings, but building the supply that people actually want to buy? I'd love to know your opinion. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.